I mean, let's just say, like, I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated.
Elon Musk has been a man who placed his faith in science over spirituality, despite having religious roots from childhood. Even in his most heartbreaking moments, Elon remained resolute in his commitment to reason and technological advancement. Religion, for him, was always a distant concept, until one fateful visit to a church changed everything. Elon experienced something so profound that it left him speechless, leading him to break his silence and declare that a true miracle had happened to him.
You know, there's great wisdom in the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with those teachings.
Join us as we uncover the moment that made Elon accept Jesus. The early path of curiosity. We start today's story about Elon Musk and the true miracle that happened to him and led him to accept Jesus much earlier from his birth. Elon was born into a religious family on June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa. His parents, Elon Musk and May Haldeman, were deeply rooted in traditional values, and their faith was an integral part of family life. From the beginning, Elon's parents wanted to raise him in a manner that aligned with their beliefs, which included a commitment to the Anglican Church. So, even as a child, Elon was baptized and later enrolled in an Anglican school, where he began his formal education surrounded by faith-based principles. Elon's upbringing in this religious environment didn't necessarily mold him into a deeply religious adult. Despite his later statements about not practicing regular religious observances, his early years were undeniably shaped by the routines of a family that took faith seriously. His parents' choice to baptize him was a gesture of commitment, a wish that he might grow up with strong values and a grounded understanding of life's moral dimensions. However, what made Elon's childhood unique was not just the religious environment he was raised in, but his keen interest in exploring the world around him. From a young age, Elon was known for his remarkable curiosity. While other children were focused on play, he was captivated by questions about nature and science. This curiosity was evident even in his childhood days, as he would often wander off in thought, asking questions that were well beyond the typical scope of a child's mind. What is electricity? How do airplanes fly? Why do stars shine? His early questions hinted at a mind constantly in motion, eager to dissect and understand the mysteries of the universe. Elon's family background also played a significant role in shaping his identity. His mother, May, was a Canadian-born model and dietitian, whose roots traced back to the adventurous Haldeman family. May's father, Joshua Haldeman, was known for his bold exploits, which included record-breaking journeys across continents in a single-engine plane. The spirit of adventure was very much alive in Elon's maternal lineage, offering a fascinating backdrop to his own life trajectory. Meanwhile, his father, Elon Musk, was a skilled electromechanical engineer and businessman. With such a family, Elon was surrounded by both practical expertise and an adventurous outlook. His father's professional life introduced Elon to the technical world from a young age, which further spurred his curiosity about machines and mechanics. Despite this exposure to engineering and science, Errol was also a man of traditional values, and like May, he encouraged Elon to appreciate the religious principles they held dear. Yet, as Elon grew older, he found himself more drawn to the realms of physics and technology than the scriptures. One interesting fact about Elon's childhood was that, at just 10 years old, he developed an intense interest in computers. He acquired a manual for the VI-20, one of the earliest personal computers, and taught himself how to program. Elon's decision to learn programming was driven by sheer curiosity and the desire to create. This dedication and focus were evident when, at age 12, he created his first video game, Blaster, and sold it for $500.
Mom, do you remember when I was 12 and I created my own video game called Blastar about a spaceship that battles aliens?
I do. I remember they paid you $500.
This moment marked the beginning of a lifelong passion for innovation and technology. By the time Elon reached his teenage years, his love for reading had become another defining trait. Books were his companions during some of the most challenging parts of his childhood. He immersed himself in classics like The Lord of the Rings, the Foundation series, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, each one sparking his imagination and providing him with new perspectives on humanity, science, and destiny. Elon Musk's path to science. Further schooling took Elon Musk on a journey that gradually distanced him from the religious upbringing of his youth, propelling him toward the pursuit of scientific knowledge. Early on, Musk attended Waterkloof House Preparatory School in South Africa, a time when his curiosity about the world was just beginning to grow. He later moved to Bryanston High School and then to Pretoria Boys High School, where he graduated. Though he was not a particularly standout student in every subject, his mind was always racing ahead, drawn to the practical applications of science and mathematics rather than the doctrines of faith he grew up with. As he advanced in school, Musk found that scientific principles offered more answers than any religious text he had encountered. Biology, physics, and mathematics revealed explanations for things that once seemed mysterious. While his parents instilled religious values and belief in a higher power, Elon's own experiences in education began to shift his focus. He realized that every occurrence, from the movement of planets to the growth of cells, had a rational, scientific basis. For Elon, the idea that science could unlock secrets about the universe was thrilling, and it eventually eclipsed any sense of wonder he had once felt about religious teachings. Upon completing his schooling in South Africa, Elon faced a crossroads. South African law required mandatory military service, which would mean supporting the apartheid regime, something Elon was uncomfortable with. So he applied for a Canadian passport through his Canadian-born mother. While awaiting approval, he spent a few months at the University of Pretoria, where he took science courses that further fueled his desire to explore physics. When his passport finally arrived, Musk left South Africa for Canada in 1989, opening a new chapter of his academic life. Life in Canada was not without challenges. To support himself, Elon worked odd jobs, including stints on a farm and in a lumber mill. Yet his goal remained clear. He wanted a future driven by scientific knowledge, and he knew that education was his pathway. In 1990, Musk entered Queen's University in Ontario, Canada. His time there marked a period of both academic growth and personal realization. At Queen's, he found a community of like-minded individuals who shared his fascination with the potential of science and technology to transform society. Elon's classroom studies were intense, but his mind was already in the world of entrepreneurial ideas as he hosted ticketed house parties to help pay for tuition and wrote a business plan for an electronic book scanning service, a precursor to the digital libraries that would come years later. 2 years later, in 1992, Elon transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he pursued a double degree, a Bachelor of Arts in Physics and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the Wharton School. Studying physics at Penn was pivotal for Elon. Here, he immersed himself in the fundamentals of the natural world, learning not only how things work, but how they might be improved upon or reimagined. Physics, Elon realized, was a framework that could provide solutions to humanity's most pressing problems. This understanding planted the seeds for the ambitious technological projects he would later champion. In 1994, he held 2 internships in Silicon Valley, the hub of technological innovation. At Pinnacle Research Institute, he delved into electrolytic ultracapacitors for energy storage, a concept that would later influence his ventures in sustainable energy. He also interned at Rocket Science Games, which, despite the name, was not a space venture but an emerging company in digital entertainment. However, The experience exposed Elon to the rapid developments in technology that Silicon Valley offered, inspiring him to think beyond academia.
And so it goes up very briefly, but if you look at a long exposure of the rocket's trajectory, you'll see it goes up, but immediately curves over.
In 1995, Elon was accepted into a graduate program in materials science at Stanford University. He enrolled, but after only 2 days, he decided to leave, realizing that the booming internet industry offered more immediate opportunities for impact than academic research. SpaceX and Elon Musk's vision for the future of humanity.
SpaceX is housed in a sprawling factory near Los Angeles where fuselages for Boeing 747s used to be built.
Fast forward to 2002 when Elon Musk founded SpaceX, a company that would redefine space exploration and his own legacy. After a series of attempts to buy rockets in Russia, where Elon was met with skepticism and high price tags, he decided that he could build rockets himself, ones that were reliable and affordable. With $100 million of his own money, Elon set out to change space technology forever. As CEO and chief engineer of SpaceX, Elon was about to achieve the pinnacle of scientific ambition, building the future he always envisioned. Elon's early attempts with SpaceX were anything but easy. The first 3 launches of his Falcon 1 rocket failed, nearly bankrupting him and his other ventures. However, Elon's relentless belief in the power of science and innovation kept him pushing forward. Finally, in 2008, SpaceX successfully launched the Falcon 1 into orbit, marking a historic milestone. Soon after, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to supply the International Space Station with the Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft, making Elon's company the first private entity to take on such a mission. What followed was a series of groundbreaking achievements. In 2012, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft docked with the International Space Station, becoming the first commercial spacecraft to do so. In 2015, SpaceX achieved something that once seemed impossible. They successfully landed a Falcon 9 first stage on solid ground, pioneering the development of reusable rockets that could bring down the cost of space travel. In 2020, SpaceX launched its first crewed mission, placing astronauts in orbit and docking with the ISS, a feat previously only achieved by governments. But for Elon, the goal was always more than getting to space. His ultimate vision was interplanetary life, a future where humanity could survive even the most catastrophic events by settling on Mars. Colonizing Mars, Elon believes, is not just an option, but a necessity for human survival, and he's dedicated SpaceX to making this vision a reality. Alongside Mars, Elon has plans to return people to the Moon and to develop commercial activities on lunar soil, furthering humanity's reach into the cosmos. As he stood on the shoulders of science, Elon likely thought he had found the ultimate truth in the power of human innovation, not suspecting that many years later, he would revisit the very religion he'd once left behind in his quest to understand the universe. But more on that later. A tragic loss and the path Elon Musk chose. Immediately after the foundation of SpaceX, Elon Musk faced one of the greatest tragedies of his life, the death of his first son, Nevada Alexander Musk. In 2002, just 10 weeks after his birth, Nevada tragically passed away from sudden infant death syndrome. Nevada had been put down for a nap, just like any other day, but he stopped breathing. Though paramedics managed to revive him, the lack of oxygen had already caused severe brain damage. After 3 days on life support, Elon and his wife Justine made the heartbreaking decision to let their baby go. She held him in her arms as he took his final breath. For many, such a loss might have been a turning point toward faith or prayer, seeking comfort in something beyond this world. But Elon took a different path. Rather than seeking solace in religion, he turned even more deeply toward his work at SpaceX and the dream of scientific progress. His reaction was pragmatic. He chose to move forward without dwelling on his grief outwardly, and this approach created a quiet emotional rift between him and Justine, who sought to process their loss by openly expressing her feelings. Elon's response to this tragedy reflects his core belief that science, not spirituality, is the answer to life's biggest challenges. Instead of asking why he lost his son, he asked how he could make the most of the life he had. For him, Nevada's death became a reminder of the fragility of life on Earth, possibly reinforcing his commitment to projects like SpaceX, which he believed could ensure humanity's survival on other planets. In those difficult months, Elon channeled his grief into his ambitions, fueling his work at SpaceX with a new sense of urgency. Building rockets and pushing the limits of what was scientifically possible became his way of coping. For Musk, science and progress were not just pursuits, but solutions. And while he might have sought meaning in the stars rather than prayer, the loss of Nevada likely added a layer of intensity to his vision of the future, a world where humanity could thrive beyond Earth, protected from its vulnerabilities. The atheist icon and the 2013 interview. All this led Elon Musk to start speaking publicly about his atheistic views, and one 2013 interview became a turning point in how he was perceived by the atheist community. In a candid conversation with actor Rainn Wilson on the Soul Pancake YouTube channel, Musk was asked directly about religion. Rainn, curious about Elon's beliefs, asked, "What do you worship?" Elon's response was as straightforward as his vision for humanity. "I don't really worship anything, but I do devote myself to the advancement of humanity by using technology." This declaration resonated powerfully. It wasn't just Musk's denial of worship, but his redirection of devotion to the practical pursuit of human advancement through science that made atheists take notice. For Elon, worship wasn't something directed at the divine. Instead, he focused on tangible efforts that could push humanity forward. When Rainn pressed further, asking if Elon prayed even in life-threatening moments, Elon replied, "I didn't even pray when I almost died of malaria." Elon's views didn't stem from a combative stance against religion, nor did he position himself as a spokesperson for atheism. Instead, his comments came from a place of practicality and scientific commitment. He expressed doubt about whether science and religion could coexist, revealing a perspective that aligns with the secular ideals many atheists hold. He suggested that while religious beliefs provide comfort, true progress in understanding the universe and achieving human advancement, in his view, came solely from scientific exploration and rational inquiry. Many atheists embraced Elon for this outlook, seeing in him a figure who embodied a future-oriented atheistic philosophy. He didn't need supernatural explanations to motivate him. He was driven by a desire to advance humanity in real, observable ways, whether it was through SpaceX, Tesla, or his vision of Mars colonization. Elon's ambitions reflected a view of the future that depended on humanity's self-reliance, innovation, and capacity for reason rather than divine intervention. The idea of colonizing Mars was particularly inspiring to secularists and atheists. For them, the concept of creating self-sustaining human colonies on other planets became symbolic, a literal departure from the confines of Earth, much like a break from traditional beliefs. Elon's vision was bold, and for many, far more empowering than waiting for a supernatural rescue. Here was a person advocating for humanity's ability to create its own future, to solve existential challenges without depending on higher powers. In this light, Elon became somewhat of an icon within the atheist community. Cultural Christianity. This is where our story becomes interesting. we know that everything changes, and so does Elon Musk's opinion. In 2020, Elon once again shocked people by expressing a more open stance toward religion.
I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated.
In an interview, he declared himself a cultural Christian, revealing a shift from his former atheistic view. This unexpected turn, especially coming from a self-proclaimed rationalist, made many reconsider the tech visionary's complex views on faith, society, and human progress. Elon's journey toward this perspective wasn't exactly a conversion, but rather a recognition of the values embedded in certain religious teachings, particularly those of Christianity. He expressed his respect for some key teachings of Jesus, including love thy neighbor and turn the other cheek. Elon called these principles good and wise, emphasizing that they promote a society based on empathy and forgiveness rather than retribution. According to him, the principle of forgiveness, rather than an eye for an eye, offers a more sustainable and peaceful framework for society. This shift is not without context. For years, Elon had a skeptical stance toward organized religion, preferring scientific explanations and human progress through technology. However, as he reflected on society and the future of civilization, Elon began to see some of these Christian values as beneficial to humanity's long-term happiness and stability. He argued that religious teachings like those of Jesus can lead to the greatest happiness for humanity, especially when considering not only the present, but the future generations. Another aspect of Elon's embrace of cultural Christianity has to do with his concerns about the decline of traditional values, especially as they relate to family and birth rates. Elon, a father of multiple children, voiced concerns about the Western world's anti-natalist trends and the diminishing influence of religion on society. He believes that without religious beliefs, societies may shift toward fewer births and lose essential values, risking a decline in population and the potential disappearance of certain cultures. This wasn't Elon's first time discussing the importance of population growth. He pointed out that having children is a vote for the future and the most optimistic thing one can do. For Elon, cultural Christianity provides a framework that supports the continuation of family values and, in turn, the survival of human civilization. Elon's newfound respect for religious principles also extends to the value of traditional imagery in society. In a conversation with Jordan Peterson, Elon emphasized that certain cultural symbols, such as the Madonna and Child, are vital. He argued that these icons serve as essential representations of the feminine and family. Without such symbols, Elon warned, society risks losing touch with its cultural roots and stability. Despite these views, Musk still maintains a largely secular outlook. He does not actively practice Christianity or attend church, and he's clear that he doesn't interpret religious stories as literal truths. He sees the teachings as moral guidelines rather than divine mandates. His upbringing in the Anglican Church did not inspire him to return to formal worship, but rather to adopt a view he calls the religion of curiosity.
It is sort of the decline of religion. So, as the saying goes, nature abhors a vacuum.
In his words, this religion centers on seeking answers, expanding consciousness, and exploring life's bigger questions. Elon Musk's unexpected encounter with faith. Convinced that identifying as a cultural Christian was the peak of his spiritual exploration, Elon Musk decided to visit a local church out of curiosity. With his few precious moments of free time, he wanted to understand why so many people still found meaning and comfort in church. For Elon, this was just another pursuit of knowledge, a chance to observe and see what brought so many back, week after week, to this place of worship. As he sat quietly in a back pew, observing the rituals and listening to the service, Elon found himself unexpectedly drawn in. Midway through, a married couple stood up to share a personal story. They spoke of their own devastating loss, the death of their child. With tears in their eyes, they recounted how their faith had been the anchor that helped them endure those dark days, keeping them afloat when everything else felt lost. Elon listened intently, and in that moment, he felt something shift within him. It was as if a weight he had carried unknowingly since 2002, the year his son Nevada had passed away, was finally being lifted. That deep-rooted ache, the pain he had carried alone for so long, seemed to ease. He was stunned. This was a feeling he had never experienced in his years of pursuing scientific answers. Science had always been his refuge, but it had never once brought him this sense of peace. A question surfaced in his mind. Could there be something more? Something beyond equations, data, and discoveries that could explain this feeling of release? Elon had never felt a need for faith in his life, but now, for the first time, he was willing to wonder if there might be something deeper, something unquantifiable, that touched the lives of people who sought meaning beyond the physical world. As the service came to a close, Elon, moved and deeply affected, approached the priest. In a rare display of humility, he knelt before him, asking for a blessing. The priest extended his hands over Elon, offering words of comfort and hope. Around him, the congregation began to clap, honored that Elon Musk, a man of science and technology, was part of their community that day. After he came out of the church, Elon Musk felt as if something truly incredible had happened. It was a sensation he hadn't anticipated, like an inner clarity, an understanding of something beyond logic. For the first time, he felt he could grasp why people find strength in faith and why they gather in places like this. Elon realized that a change had occurred within him, something he never imagined would take place. Breaking his usual silence, he turned to those standing nearby and with a rare excitement said, "A true miracle happened to me. I accept Jesus." For the people around him, it was a moment to remember. And now, all that remains is to await Elon Musk's upcoming interview, where he'll share this new experience. I'm certain it will surpass any previous discussion he's had about religion. Elon has spent most of his life focused on science and technology, often questioning faith. Do you believe that spirituality and science can coexist harmoniously in someone's life? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more.